I was brought up by my dad, who was mentally ill. He got schizophrenia, and we lived with. I lived with my grandparents and my uncles as well. And it was there was very little. There was no love there, or very little love, and there was a lot of neglect. And I was subjected to all types of abuse. And a lot of people always think, you know, well, the sexual abuse was the worst, surely. And for me, it wasn't. And even though I was sexually abused, the worst abuse for me was neglect. Psychiatrists say that there's 3 ways you go if you're dealing with abuse over years. And you can either become invisible, you can become a people pleaser, or you can become, she's got like a rebel. You know, and everybody thinks because my pink hair, I was a rebel, and I would do anything to please, try and get some love from my grandma or my uncles. That I needed to find a way out of this as I was growing up, and I needed to find a way of getting people to love me. Wow. So I just went from one promiscuous relationship to another. And where the abuse ended, and where I have to take ownership as an adult, is I carried on that abuse. So I carried on abusing myself through the hundreds of men I've got through, and the life I had. And it wasn't until I hit my rock bottom and I thought, well, I've got to give somebody else a go. I'll give God a go. That my life completely changed. And I only converted. The only reason I converted is I wanted a husband, because I just didn't receive love as a child unconditionally. That's what you take into your adult life. Sure. And so I thought, I've got to earn my friendship. I've got to earn my love. And it was an atheist friend of mine who said, oh, you've got God in your life. I said, yes. And, you know, and I'm going to change everything about myself. And he said, well, what about sleeping around? I said, well, that part of the Bible's old-fashioned. Proper like to, twist things.
Yeah, absolutely.
Oh, he said, the gospel according to Rachel. It was like, wow. So 3 months after converting, I found my dad dead on the floor. Dealing with that, and obviously dealing with the abortions that I didn't know were eating away at me, and that I was grieving. I was stuck in denial for decades. And then eventually I married Adam, and he was the boy that I sat next to at school. If you're brought up in a loving, wholesome family, and you understand love of family, why would you abort your child?
Interesting. Yeah, sure. Tell us about those moments for you, Rach, the horrific abortions that you endured. What age were you? What were the circumstances? That kind of thing, if you don't mind.
No, of course, I don't mind any question.
Sure.
So we find at Rachel's Vineyard there's sort of 2 types of people that come. There's the person that comes that is absolutely bereft and so upset, and immediately after having the abortion, the regret is straight away, you know. Wow. And in some respects, I'm always jealous of them or envious of them, thinking, I wish that had impacted me, and always felt that maybe I didn't care enough. Because for many decades, it was, if ever I spoke to somebody, it was about I was the victim, not my children. And so I didn't leave either abortions. I didn't leave them absolutely devastated.
Right.
I actually left in relief.
Right.
I just like, it was the biggest, that was a problem. Yeah. This is the solution. Now I can just get on with my life. And what led up to the first one, it was my second boyfriend. I was about 16 when I was going out with him. And we're going out about a year or whatever, and found out I was pregnant. And even though I was probably 17 going on 18 when I had the abortion. But one thing I remember feeling was I didn't want to be I wanted to be unpregnant. And so I just hoped the problem would go away, and it wasn't going away. And I would carry on going to school and hiding it in my clothes.
Wow. What stage were you at that point?
I would have to, I still don't know, I must find out, but I would have been very, very close to the time where you can't have an abortion.
Wow.
Because I knew I'd left it, and I know that they were panicking, and the doctors were really concerned that, we need to get you in ASAP. This has gone too far.
Right.
in some respects, one of the weapons I took into my adult life was numbness and not having to feel.
Oh,
And
wow.
you see, I'm very lucky that not everything that happened in my abortion story, I didn't find out everything straight away, because I think there's been layers of denial. And I think also that when you're traumatized, and it is a trauma, things are revealed to you slowly. So I never knew the age. I always thought I was 16 when I didn't know. But actually, when the BBC interviewed me at my house a couple of years ago for a documentary, and they said, how old were you? I said, I don't know. And I explained why I didn't know. And they turned around and said, well, tell us about the day. I said, well, I went to school. I put my school uniform on, put my clothes that I was really going to take for the hospital in the bag. I got in my car, and I got in my car. I must have been 18.
It's amazing how the brain and the mind can do that, can't it?
Absolutely.
It can block out things to protect you until you're almost ready. I'd have to look it up, but I'm guessing the law, if it's anything like now, would have been about up to 24 weeks then.
Yeah, around 20 weeks at least. That's what I think anyway. And then, so my second abortion, I was at school, but this time I was a teacher. And so my second abortion, in some respects, was easier, because you see, even though I never believed in God, my first abortion, I thought, well, if there's a God, and there is a God, I'm sure, but just nothing to do with my life, I'm going to hell. Well, the second, I can't go to hell twice. I'm already going to hell.
Right, yeah.
And so I thought, right, what I need to do this time is get in and out really quick. Because the first abortion, you see, I'd gone back home and I'd got a big bruise on my hand from the anaesthetic. And I thought, well, that's not happening again. So the second abortion, I asked to be kept awake so I wouldn't have that bruise on my hand. But you see, God uses everything, you see. So my second abortion, I remember turning up, and I remember the nurse saying, it's got on your record here, you're going to be awake. And I said, yes. And she said, are you sure? And I said, why? And I said, is it painful? And she said, well, it's uncomfortable. Well, the only way I can describe it is white light. I remember I couldn't understand after the abortion, my legs were in stirrups. It was just so degrading. Why am I still here? Because the abortionist had moved away. I'll just backtrack a little bit.
Yeah, sure.
I think abortion impacts every single sense that you've got. I think it's a deprivation of all your senses. And so that day I was blinded by the lights in the theatre, the noise of this suction vacuum I could hear, the smell of this horrible disinfectant smell. So everything was never again the same, where my senses were concerned. And the abortionist, he went to the side of me on the left side, and I thought, what's he doing? And what's he messing with? And and then I realised he was counting the body parts of my baby. The irony, to keep me alive, he had to make sure every part was out to me. But what he had actually done that day was he sucked the life out of me as well. And I remember when my legs were put back together, the shake, it was I couldn't even do it. Like my whole body went into some form of like a fit, but I was just going into shock, a really deep shock. And they said, we'll make you a cup of tea. And she pulled back the curtains, and she couldn't believe when she opened the curtains. I was fully dressed, and I was making my way out. I just did what I always did, and put on a different face, and got on with life. And that was, I must have been about 22 for my second abortion. And between the age of 18 and 22, I was taking the morning after pill, which is abortive, and I didn't know, but it wouldn't have made any difference at all. I'd have still taken it. You're in that much entrenched in darkness, you don't even know what right or wrong is anymore. The truth becomes the lie. Only last year I had to have my ovaries out. One of them was the size of a mobile phone. And I couldn't have children after that. I think I took that as a form of self-harm. I didn't deserve to have children.
Interesting.
I always wanted 6 boys, and I thought, well, you just didn't deserve to have children, do you? So the first stage is denial, and I was, first of all, I didn't think I deserved to be grieving, and I didn't understand that I was grieving. And you've actually done it to yourself, and you've killed your own children. Even if you realised you've done that, you don't think you deserve to grieve. So that first stage is denial. But whether it's your own life or the life of your own children that you've taken through abortion, you are going to go through the stages of grief. I would go in between denial and anger. Many people that have had abortion do go on to have eating disorders.
Right.
So, and the eating disorder is like, you see, when you have an abortion, you never feel full again. And so with bulimia, you eat and eat, and then you empty yourself. And it's that, and it's near enough, you're trying to expect a different ending. And then after that, you've got bargaining. Well, if I do this, I'll have a different ending. You know, if I get pregnant again, this time it'll be different, but it's never any different when you go to an abortion centre. It's always going to be the same. The fourth one is depression. And then eventually you get to acceptance. But how can somebody get to acceptance if they don't know what the truth is? Truth sounds like hate when you hate the truth. And, you know, for me, and people come to Rachel's Vineyard in so much pain and so much hurt, but some of them still don't recognise that they killed their child. And you think, well, hold on, if you've gone to Rachel's Vineyard, and the reason for that is they want either you to say it was okay. But if I tell you it's okay, that's just putting a plaster on it.
Yeah, it's
if
not
I've
dealing
got
with
cancer,
the core issue.
exactly. If I've got cancer, don't give me a paracetamol. And if I'm grieving, don't tell me, well, it was just a fetus. Well, it wasn't. You know, it's a clump of cells. It's not real. It's not, because eventually my intelligence and my understanding of biology is going to tell me, well, a fetus is human. I can't indulge people at Rachel's Vineyard and say it's okay, because it isn't okay. But at the same time, I think it's really important. We have to tell truth we love. 12 years ago, that was me. So I went to Rachel's Vineyard in Ireland. I didn't want to go. Luckily, I was in Ireland, because if I was in England and I realised what we were going to do, I think I'd have got in the car and driven home. Everybody in that room had gone on to have children. And they were all crying and they were heartbroken. And I just would like this. I wish I could feel like that. I wish I could cry like you're crying. I don't feel like you feel, because you've gone on to have children. You're all mums, you know, and dads, because there are men there as well, because abortion affects men. And this priest started crying, and I can't stand to see men cry. And he looked at me, and I said, "Are you okay?" And he said, "Rachel, don't you understand? It's not that you could have been a mum. You are a mum."
Wow.
I was like, "What?" He said, "You are a mum." You see, I went to Rachel's Vineyard, you see, dragging these 2 dead children behind me. And I went to Rachel's Vineyard a mother. I came away a mother. You see, I just didn't want to be a mum when I was 18. And I just thought, you know, if I have an abortion, I won't be a mum. But actually, having the 2 abortions didn't stop me from being a mum. It just meant I was a mum to 2 dead children.
Wow.
And so now, you know, I've got Jude and Paul, who absolutely love me, but they're in heaven, and I will see them one day. And I know that they just absolutely adore me. And it's probably why I'm here today and I haven't gone round the twist, is because of them. You know, people often say, you know, you can get up and do what you're doing and tell people. But it's, I can't bring Jude and Paul back. I can't bring their life back, but I can prevent the next Paul and Jude. And once a day, at the end of the day, when I'm brushing my teeth, it's probably a habit now, I always think, I look in the mirror as I'm brushing my teeth and I think, how did you do that? How? I can't recognise that person that killed the children. And I don't bash myself up over it, because I'm in those 5 stages. I mean, I've accepted what's happened. You know, and I get people that come to Rachel's Vineyard and they're just, the miracles we watch and we see, and the healing that happens in spite of me being there, is what drives me on, you know, and why I want to help other people. I put a picture of myself in a t-shirt. March for Life asked us to do it for the for the 52-year anniversary.
Yeah, this week.
And I did put it on Twitter, and somebody came at me, and a pro-choicer, and said, how dare you campaign against abortion when you've had 2 abortions yourself?
Wow.
You're actually saying the wrong. What you mean is, how dare I kill my 2 children?
Wow.
Choice. And then she came back with, eventually she came back with, it was a fetus. I said, well, a fetus is human, because she said a fetus isn't even human. I didn't say like a face plant picture. And and I said, well, fetus is a human because its parents are human, and then eventually, well, of course, and then she said, well, of course it's human, but you're putting the life of that more important than the mother. No, I just want it to have equal rights. This isn't a God issue. This is a human rights issue. But you add somebody that's had an abortion, not only have they got to decide it was human, then they've got to realise, well, I killed my own children.
Yeah.
And that is, for some people, too far to go and too hard to go to. Right. My story upsets you. If you went to Rachel's, but you've been bits.
You've obviously suffered so much yourself, and you've seen so many women suffering, having had abortions. What would you say to the women that say, look, Rachel, I've had abortions, it wasn't traumatic for me, it was a total blessing, I'm so glad 30 years later I don't regret it, this isn't fair that you're saying this is horrific and bad for us and traumatic and wrong, but mine was great. What would you say to someone that said that?
That's where they are in their life, and I carry on meeting them where they're at, because one day they might just go, I need you.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? Yeah. And I just want that door to always be open. You have to be ready to hear it and to see it. Yeah. But the most beautiful, loving thing that was ever said to me, even though I knew it was wrong, I still didn't realise I'd killed my children until that priest said, but you are a mum.
Yeah.
Wow. I just
so
couldn't
powerful.
believe it. Yeah. And I was ready to hear it. You have to be ready to hear things.
Recently, I heard a term that I hadn't heard before, and this is quite a complex term because it can be used for different things, but I heard a doctor refer to abortion as therapeutic termination, which can be either used for the situation where the baby is going to die in the womb or outside the womb shortly afterwards, or the woman is going to die by carrying that child. However, this doctor referred to therapeutic termination as abortion as a general, and I just wondered what you thought of that term, having been through 2 therapeutic abortions.
Isn't it incredible the way we adopt language? But we are adopting all these euphemisms for killing, whether we call it genocide or whether, but therapeutic, it'll make you feel better. Well, that doctor needs to come to Rachel's Vineyard and see how many people feel, that this is therapeutic, what they went through. It seems like the answer. It seems like the dream answer to your problems. A little bit like when you're in debt and somebody offers you a loan. The relief is immense, but you've got to pay that loan back. Or that therapist or that therapeutic abortion, you're going to have to pay it back. And I paid it back through years of bad relationships. I paid it back through bulimia, self-harm, through drugs and drink and just shocking behaviour. And in the end, I had to look at it for what it really was.
My kind of last few questions would just be, what would have had to happen for you to have not gone through with those 2 abortions? What if you were in an idealistic world where you could say, I would not have gone through it if this had happened? What would those have been?
It wouldn't. Okay, so I often go back and wonder that, and I will have done in the past. And would it have been 40 days outside? No, that wouldn't have done it for me. Would it have been somebody lovingly saying, I'll get you a house and, we'll look after you and give you as much money? No, that wouldn't have done it.
Right.
And would big posters of, looking at what an abortion really is? No, that wouldn't have done it for me. What would have done it for, because you see, those abortive pictures and the violence in those pictures, I'd already seen that. If it was been illegal, I wouldn't have done anything illegal. So that's what I just needed the law to have changed for me.
Wow, I've never heard someone say that.
I would never have gone to some sort of backstreet anything. One of the women said that when you allow abortion to a country, when you allow it to become legal, it changes everything. It changes what we really value as a society. And you see, if we hadn't have had abortion in England, our society would have been set up differently, and we would have valued life.
Right.
You know, I find one of the most offensive things that a pro-choice says to me is, well, what about, you know, they weren't loved and they weren't wanted? Well, that's me. And I deserved the right to life. You know, it's like when people say, well, you know, all about mental health. Well, my dad was mentally ill. You know, and who are we to say? You know, who lives and who dies?
Yeah, absolutely.
That's what going back to that first question, people are now going to say, well, yeah, it is a child, but it's a necessary evil, as Anne Ferrady once said.
Yes, that's, I think
and it's like, wow, the language is incredible that we're starting to use.
That's a good prediction. Speaking of which, I don't know if you've seen a lot of these campaigns on social media, Shout Your Abortion. There was a woman that had her abortion procedure filmed and was kind of humming along, and then was interviewed about it after. And I just kind of wondered, you know, because the motto is, you know, that we should be loud and proud and we shouldn't be remorseful. This isn't something to be ashamed of. This is something we should be proud of as women. Having been through that twice, what would your response to be, you know, to someone that is filming their abortion and encouraging women to be proud about it?
Somebody's had an abortion. It's quite important for them to have a gang of friends that go, all right, it's okay, doesn't matter. But you see, when you shout something, you're already angry, aren't you? And it's just that stage that they're in, and that's why they're behaving. But you see, with all the friends going, that's okay about the chocolate bars, that's okay about the abortions, eventually you're in that bedroom on your own. And the flashbacks will come, and this will come, and your eating disorders will come, and you know, drinking yourself into oblivion. Because it doesn't matter if you don't know what you've done, your body knows and your spirit knows. Post-abortive people are very secretive. When they regret it, they don't think that they have the right to regret it, or the right to actually, you know, get help. And when they do get help, it's still a secret. They don't want to go out there.
Just with obviously the people that are post-abortive, what was helpful and unhelpful to you when you were going through the trauma and everything that was happening? How can we love those around us that are experiencing trauma but may not know it, that are post-abortive?
What would have been very helpful for me was to have got to Rachel's Vineyard sooner, or to have actually had. I had a set of friends that the ones that I did tell the story to, they just gave me love, and they said, you know, that's really sad. You know, but you'll have a future. Nobody ever said the real truth of, you know, that I'd killed a child, and that wasn't helpful, because I was stuck in what I was stuck in. And didn't actually see it for what it. Even I always knew abortion was wrong, and yet I had an abortion. I never thought it was a women's right. I just, you know, and I couldn't believe. And a lot of women that come to Rachel's Vineyard cannot believe they became that woman. The majority of people go to have abortions through fear, and because they just can't see a way out. You know, and if we don't have Rachel's Vineyard doesn't just heal them; it prevents them from doing it again. If you don't stop the cycle, they'll keep doing it and doing it. But I think we can just love them with the truth.
So being truthful, that's helpful to know. You know, I'm sure you get called a lot of names, like a woman hater. In a sentence, what would you say to the people that were accusing you of being a bitch that hates women?
Yeah. Well, you see, love and hate starts with ourselves, and today I love myself, and I love myself because I stand in the truth, and because I love myself and I love women. And why would I want to see women as traumatized as the ones from Rachel's Vineyard? This is about real love, not plasters. I'm not here to put plasters on women. I'm here to give them a crutch you know.
Yeah, that's a brilliant answer. That's really helpful. Rachel, I cannot thank you enough for this. It's amazing. You've given me so much insight. I've learned so much just from this. Oh my goodness, I've just realized that I haven't recorded this.
No.
I'm joking. Get another cup of tea.